Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All-In Podcast presented by Excellency Esports. I'm the League Dad, and as always, I'm joined by my awesome friends and co-hosts, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair. So happy to have you guys here. This is the episode after the LCS finals. It is done in our region. I know specifically one person in this show, in this panel right here, is not happy how things turned out. But Kevin, we will get to that in a second. But first, how you guys doing? Let me start with you, Mitchell. How's life, man? How you doing?
Life is pretty good, pretty all right. I did get a haircut, actually. The long mane is gone.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll show the audience here.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I got
short hair. And then besides that, just working, living life, eating food, as people do. Yep.
Existing.
That is so abnormal. Like that
I
is.
know, right?
Woo, man, crazy.
Oh, Mitchell, I'm on the same page. Once again, we started our new jobs at similar times. I got a haircut too this week, so
That's right.
it's not as much hair cut off, but it is shorter. And then I'm in the finals of a tournament that Mitchell's actually helping run, which is the XLNC BPS series.
Nice.
Come watch us.
Definitely still running that. Yes.
Or helping with.
Yeah, there it is.
Anyway, it's been a great tournament. We're probably not going to win the finals, but we had a good run so far. I'm looking forward to it. And then, what else was there? Oh yeah, and then it was a great weekend for esports. Just lots of great matches to watch. There was also Smash Summit, which is a Smash Ultimate thing, which all the best players in the world come over for. So I just had esports on all my monitors. And it was so fun to watch the whole weekend. So not the greatest result, but I'm glad I had a good time watching all the esports side by side.
Cool. If you guys didn't know, Alistair is in quarantine. Welcome to America. He's in isolation for a little bit.
This happens everywhere.
Yeah,
so
I
it
know.
just sucks in general.
How are you, Alistair? Man, I see the new setup for a couple days, but how you doing overall?
That's fine.
You sound excited to be there.
I mean, it's not much different. I didn't share a room with anyone anyways. But
That's cool, man. Are you getting all situated? Like classes going all right? How's the team stuff going? I'll let you talk. Sorry.
First week of classes went pretty well. College team we haven't actually started scrims back up yet. But yeah, for Lotus we have been scrimming. Nice. First week of Heavy League starts Thursday, so come watch that. I'll be streaming it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, back in XLC.
Right, I am back. Time to troll the chat. Just kidding. Don't do that.
Go for it.
All right. Well, guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's start at the very, very macro level and just talk about global news. First, we mentioned this before, but Worlds will not be in China. It'll be in Europe. So it'll be in Iceland again. And apparently, I guess if it's not broke, don't fix it. So since MSI worked out well, they're just going to do it again. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I mean, it's not super like, we mentioned some of the nuances of, not having to travel so far for some people, and for others it might be a little bit different. But do you guys have any thoughts on that before we move on to other world news?
Well, I didn't know Iceland was a part of Europe, so that's news to me. That's I guess I get to learn that.
Educational podcast, y'all.
News.
That's American schools right there. I literally had no idea. I thought it was like its own thing. But I guess, I don't know, it's like far for even European people, right? I think there's still going to be a slight time change. So the advantages we were talking about last week don't play as much if it was like literally held in Germany, like if it was in Berlin or something. A sizable amount of players would be like, well, I have to go there anyways. So it's like the same thing for me. So it's going to be a change for pretty much everybody. So evens the playing field.
I wonder if that's actually good if it's at like a somewhat neutral place where nobody has, like, everybody's got to travel. Everybody's got to have some kind of time change, some kind of quarantine, some kind of,
Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Send it up to none of it, honestly.
Yeah, we know where that is.
I have
America.
no clue.
Yeah.
My geography's so bad.
It's the big territory at the top of Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Dude, we can just hang out with the polar bears.
Yeah. it is where you will actually see polar bears and igloos.
That is pretty awesome. All
League
right.
in an igloo.
That sounds fun. Do you guys have any other thoughts on the worlds, Kevin or Alistair? Anything on the location?
On Worlds, like, I mean, Iceland went smoothly. MSI went fine. Like, I think the thing that I'm anticipating potentially is that if it's all held in one location, everything's controlled and everything, it might be possible that they could get fans, at least for some stage of it, because how I understand it is if you were to like go between different countries, right? The issue would be that yeah, you quarantine for like Berlin, right? The Berlin stage, but then by the time you go to the Paris stage, you have to quarantine again. So you're never going to show up for an actual event.
That's true.
This is a little too idealistic maybe, but I'm hoping that if it's all in one place, like you might just not have any in person for group stage. Fans show up and they can show up for like quarters or semis at least.
Yeah.
So that's the hope. You also have all play-ins to quarantine for, so I don't know. I mean, like, there's a lot of chances for that. I think it's a good idea. I think that Iceland's a good place to host this. They did fine last time, and it probably actually means they have to quarantine less, hopefully, and there's less of a chance of a random outbreak because there's just not as many people freely flowing into Iceland, right? It's not like the rest of the EU where people can just immigrate or migrate, whatever. They can move around freely with cars and their EU.
It's true.
Whatchamacallit. EU citizenship means that you can go to other EU countries very freely. It's part of the reason why Brexit is a big deal. So yeah, it's a big deal. I think it's a good move on their part. I don't actually think there's a time change. Iceland's only slightly west of the UK, so it's like maybe an hour off of the UK's time. I think maybe 2. So like, I mean, anyone who's gone from east to west coast, like it's minor, it's there, but I do think it's interesting if we had more of an even playing ground. I don't know where that'd be, like Hawaii or something. I don't know,
No,
like in the middle of nowhere, on an island.
That'd be so down.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be
Hawaii
down.
would be sick.
That'd be sick.
A
But
League
anyways,
Island, League of Legends Island.
Hey, the UFC did it.
Riot could easily buy out an island if need be. I don't know if it would be practical.
God, they could call it. They could like name it like Runeterra or something.
Runeterra.
Stupid.
There would actually be a place called League City.
Something cringy or edgy.
Yeah, Piltover City. Yeah.
Piltover City. Oh my god.
The UFC already made Fight Island.
That's true.
Oh my god, Fight Island. We could have we could have League Islands.
Yeah. Okay.
We should learn more from the UFC. That's all I'm saying. We NALCS could. One of these postseason, like after Worlds, we'll need to talk about reforming the LCS.
Hey, that's a good one.
Seriously, the trash talk that we have is so not good.
Sucks.
You said we need to be more like the UFC, and all I could hear was Conor McGregor. Your top lane is in my DM.
Yeah, I know. Your top laners, and oh my god. Yeah, that would be. That is something I do miss is all the trash talk. Although we did get a little bit of trash talk. Did you guys see the post game interview? Okay, so
that's what I'm talking about. Abadage was so cringe.
I know, man. Yeah,
I don't think he was expecting to win. That's all I'm saying. He was
struggling.
Nothing prepared.
If anyone listening hasn't seen it, just look it up on YouTube. Look at the post finals interview with Abadage. It's pretty hilarious. Alistair, do you have any thoughts on the Iceland thing before we move on? No,
not
okay. So that's the thing. It's going to be there. The next bit of Worlds news is this ban on, or at least restriction on, online gaming in China for people under the age of 18. Is that correct? And this is huge if this is actually happening. I mean, I guess it's news, so it's happening. But the fact that there are so many young Chinese players that are so good, and we're already seeing them on professional stages, the fact that might not be happening anymore, that's huge for the region, for the game, everything. Like, how does that work in their LPL? And now does that affect, like, do we have a chance now? Like, some of these good players can't even compete. Like, what does that mean for the rest of the regions? Like, do we have a chance? But it's interesting news. Let me get your thoughts on that. And I'll start with you, Mitch.
Yeah, I think it's what I was reading about, and is probably easy to assume is that all the kids, they just use their parents' like ID. So you need an ID to play League of Legends in China and Korea as well. I'm pretty sure all the kids, they just use their parents and they play as much as they want. But the funny thing to me is, like, how do you get someone like Gala or like Jackie Love back in the day who are like, they're 17 and they instantly become a pro and they go to the bar, they win MSI Worlds, and then you're just like a Chinese like official who makes the laws, and they're like, how did you get so good playing only 3 hours a week?
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
It's clearly they did not do that. So I wonder like how recruiting works with that. It's like if you're like an LPL team recruiting like 16, 15-year-olds, you're like, you have your parents' IGN, right? You're breaking the law? Good, because we're not gonna like recruit you if you're not. If you're only playing 3 hours a week. So I don't know. That's just a weird thing.
It is very
It's like,
weird. Almost because it's like that's what they're so good at that. They're known for getting young talent. The fact that this stifles that is very interesting. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, so first of all, my friends and I were talking about, we're like, wow, it's a real life balance patch to the LPL region.
Yeah.
But I've actually been to China. I've played on the Chinese server Ionia 1, and I've played it in PC cafes before, so like I actually have some decent insight into this, having also taught a high school there for a summer. Yeah, so yes, you guys are right. You either use like a parent's ID or some like random ID repository where you can use people's IDs or borrow them or whatever. That happens. What and then the 8 hour, there used to be an 8 hour ban, so 8 hours a week, and now it's going down to 3. So the ban isn't new per se, it's just news that's going down to 3 now. That's it. It isn't easily enforceable because you can use someone else's ID.
True.
But I guess it's essentially parental controls with extra steps. Your parents, if they don't give you their ID, which it is an important thing, it's like basically like asking your parents to give you their social security number, so you could play a video game like that.
Yeah.
Not every parent's gonna say yes to that, right? But if a parent's more like open-minded about it, they will give it to you, and that's fine. In China, gaming's a huge issue. In terms of addiction, there is like we talk about like different addictions here in the U.S.
True.
Gaming is that in China. It is massive over there. It's like gaming and basketball are huge there, and I don't think this is the solution to it personally. I'm not gonna get into the politics of it, but just for league-wise, like, people will always find a way to play. They were talking about like maybe doing like facial recognition or whatever. That might be a way to solve it, but in the short term, like,
crazy.
Also, news for people: this can't really be enforced if you're at home, right? Because you could just use a parent's ID, and a PC cafe is already 18 plus. So I don't know. The article didn't mention this, but PC cafes don't let kids in. Now there are a lot of cafes that kind of look the other way. If a kid who like is 16 or something comes in, is like, I'm 18, sometimes they don't check to just like take the business, but this new law might make it more strict. So it's a big deal, but it's already been in place, and obviously Gala and Uzi and all these like other people just still coming through the pipeline. It might hurt it, like just like accessibility, right? If it's harder for someone to easily get into it, yeah, it might happen. But League is such a phenomenon over there, and other games in general, that like people will find a way. People spend so much time studying there anyways that honestly it is kind of hard unless you have really open parents to letting you game.
I mean, I'm just picturing this, somebody getting arrested, some 14-year-old with handcuffs.
You're not gonna get arrested.
I'm just saying. That's the first thing that popped in my mind, because I thought that'd be pretty funny. Yeah, I can only imagine. That's
too
funny.
Much League, young man.
Too much League. You're going to jail.
You're like, there's like a cold-hearted criminal next to you. It's like, what are you in for?
I know.
Like,
what are you in?
League of Legends overdose.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. So I actually, last thing before I'll start talking, we were talking about like, if it's 1 hour, so it's 1 hour per day. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the proposed 1 hour per day, so it equals 3 hours. We were talking about like, what if the meta became like, so you spend like 10 minutes like queuing up, finding a lobby, and then there's like the other team just stretches it out like Azir, Zig, Sivir, like the most DJ copy. Like, if the second you know there's an under 18-year-old, you're like, oh, we're gonna time him out.
We're just gonna time him out. Freeze him out.
It's gonna be a 5v4. We scale to late.
You're like LPL. You're like the finals. It's LPL versus like EU or something. EU's like, we just gotta wait till 9 p.m. man.
Just gotta stall this game as long as we can.
Pretty sure Gala's gotta go home.
or even funnier is like, after 50 minutes, these guys don't know how to play the game. They've never been there.
Right. They're like, what do we do now?
I do think that if it's your job, though, you're allowed to play like way more than that. So like, if you're a trainee, for example, and getting paid for it, that's like totally different than like being a student. So that's one of the things. But anyways,
either way, it's interesting. I mean, it is also because like, the culture over there is much different than what we're used to. So hearing something like that is it's even more mind-boggling for us as Westerners, like living in America. That's something you probably would never hear over here.
Yeah,
so
you
interesting
can't force
news.
them to do anything here.
Yeah, no way. So interesting. Alistair, do you have any thoughts on that? Or
I mean, all I'd say is like, if there's a will, there's a way. And at the same time, I mean, Tencent owns Riot, and they're also a Chinese company. There's going to be the loopholes, and like Kevin said, there's probably going to be ways where, you're being scouted. So the organization's going to give you an account if you're like 17 or 16, and then it's going to be it's going to be like Prohibition in the 30s, where like it happened, but
My man,
you know a lot about U.S. history. Are you sure you're not American?
Yeah, I know. Well, my man just compared this to Prohibition, man. That is, I mean, I'm excited for it. This is the age we live in, man. But you're right. Like, people will find a way. People have always found a way.
They're gonna find the League of Legends speakeasies.
The League of Legends speakeasies. I'm with it. Well, hey, speaking of League of Legends, it's time to talk about the LCS and the finals and everything that happened. And Kevin, I know 100 Thieves just dominated your Team Liquid, but let's save that for let's push that a little bit first, because we do need to talk about the 100 Thieves C9 series a little bit, because that's, again, the only person to predict that, at least here, was Alistair, and you predicted the series score correctly as well. So 100 Thieves beating them 3-1. What are your thoughts, initial reactions, anything, about that series? Because if you look at this entire weekend, 100 Thieves went 6-1 against C9 and Team Liquid, which is crazy. So let me get your thoughts on that first series, and then we'll get to my favorite part in roasting Team Liquid.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nerf Viego, step 1.
Yeah.
Viego is a fun champion. Yeah, for sure. I would just like to say, like, to start it off, this is the 100 Thieves weekend. This is the 100 Thieves split. Congrats to 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
They are the first non-legacy organization to win a trophy. They are the first team not of C9, TSM, or Team Liquid to win in franchising. So congrats to them.
Yeah.
They really put it together. We've been seeing 100 Thieves sort of get to this point when, well, 3/5 of the roster were on Golden Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same roster that almost went to Worlds last year that would have also basically been a huge upset in kicking out TSM.
That's true.
One game away, right? So this is 3/5 of the same team. Reaper's coming back. This is actually Reaper's only second title. He won once on Cloud9. And immediately comes in 400 Thieves, first split win. So congrats to them. I think that's a really big deal. That's crazy. This is NA history that just got made. To talk specifically about the C9 theory series, 100 Thieves could have 3-0'd if they just didn't play Ashe. Ashe is such a dog champion. I don't know why they did that.
Next patch though.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
For some reason, I think
she doesn't do damage.
In solo queue or something? I don't know.
I don't know. She doesn't do damage, especially when people go that. Rate. She does the shield bow, wits end build, and you just do negative damage. You're an ult bot. You're a volley bot. Might as well just go mandate. I don't know, but I think 100 Thieves easily could have 6-0'd this weekend if they had a better comp. Because even that game 3, it just felt like they kind of just like they were just getting trashed by Leona and Tristana.
Yeah.
Lee Sin and Viego are crazy champions in the jungle. That's what I'll say. Viego and Lee Sin are crazy. Closer is nuts. Easily the best jungler. And they had all playoffs. You could say something differently for the regular season, maybe Spica. But for playoffs, it is definitely closer. It was closest playoffs for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Kevin?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, it's definitely the 100 Thieves weekend. I think they played really well through both series. It looks like we were talking about this a little bit pre-show, but to just let the viewers know, we essentially were discussing how, like, just seemed like they really ramped up throughout the playoffs. Like, they had that hard series against EG, and then they had a hard series against Liquid, but they were looking better than the EG series, and then they just decided to stop losing. I think they played really well. I think that Closer probably had the best split, or not best split, the best set of series of his life. So I think I give him a lot of credit for this. I think he was carrying very hard. Something that we talk about in the Smash community is something called Johns, which is essentially making excuses. I'm not gonna do any Johns. I think that Viego is broken as fuck, but as heck. But at the same time, you can ban it. So,
That's
honestly, it's
or you can take it.
Yeah.
Or you could take it and learn it. And I mean, like, I just don't understand, and I think that Liquid I've been saying this every week, like, they have pretty bad drafts overall on average, but they just play so well that it doesn't matter. And you saw them just, I guess, hubris, or just, they were a worse team this weekend, at least, right? I don't think anyone can dispute that. So I'm excited. I think 100 Thieves being of Liquid caliber, or I guess we should say Liquid being of 100 Thieves caliber, is great news. for NA. I think that we want to have more teams going to Worlds where we're like, wow, we can really threaten people. Instead of last time around when we were like, FlyQuest is second seed. I hope they get a win or two against Top Esports Fnatic and whatever that group was, right? Not that FlyQuest was bad, but you could just tell there wasn't enough firepower. There is enough firepower on this team if Closer isn't outclassed in the world stage. And he has been to Worlds before. I'm pretty sure he was the jungler for Supermassive or Dark Passage or whatever that team is always called team. From Turkey.
Yeah, it was a Turkish team. They did pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of the reason he got scouted in the first place because he was so good on that team. Like, despite the team not being, like a Worlds contender, but they can win play-ins, for example. So it's good news. I'm really happy for them. I'm pretty mad at my own org, but we're going to Worlds, and TSM isn't.
Whatever. We're not talking about. We're not talking about TSM tonight, Kevin.
If we're talking LCS,
we will. It'll come inevitably. We might even talk about G2, because they're pretty much similar spots. But I will say something interesting to maybe hedge on to, and this is just me being like a copium TL fan, is Second Seed generally has a better group, so we'll see how it goes. Traditionally, for some reason, NA first seeds just don't have a very easy group.
That's a good one.
It's likely because just other regions have such ridiculous second and third seeds that sometimes it overstacks your group. But
I like how you turn this demolishing into a positive.
Hey, I had a lot of time to think about it because that was
like,
you know
what? We actually wanted to get in second because the group's gonna be easier.
It was a 3-0. I planned for at least a 4-game series, so I had a lot of time to think about my actions, okay?
To be fair, if Kevin didn't say it, I was actually going to say the exact same thing. Liquid is going to be second seed, which can be a benefit.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not going to throw out and say, oh yeah, TL wanted to be second seed.
No way.
I'm not throwing out that. I'm not saying that.
I would almost believe it if TL wasn't the org that won 4 times in a row and has had a drought for like 4 splits or 5 splits now. Like, if they didn't have this drought, then I was like, oh, maybe it's not worth it, right? Like, NA, whatever. Let's actually win Worlds. But TL actually cares. They need to, like, show that the recent non-double lift era TL can win. Currently, no double lift is no Worlds for every team that had him on it. So
no championship.
No championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, no double lift, no championship.
We still made Worlds without doubles. So that is different from the TSM experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm really happy 100 Thieves won, honestly. I mean, I know I predicted TL to win 3-1, but I honestly 100 Thieves winning honestly makes me happier. Cuz like, while I like Liquid and I hope they do well at Worlds, I'm happy to see another team like actually stepping forward. Like 100 Thieves is kind of getting close to like a Mad Lions, it feels like, or like Rogue.
Yeah. That's true. I like how you put that too, because those orgs in LEC, it's definitely, you see the shifting and change of guards there for sure, especially just after what's happening over there. But specifically, like, what do you think it is that has made 100 Thieves so good? Again, just all of a sudden in this weekend just looked amazing. But for me, when I look at them, it just seems like they're all playing their pieces really well. Like, Closer is just being the closer jungler that we all thought he'd be. FBI is always going to be good, solid. He'll do what he needs to do in the damage meter. And then, of course, their mid laner, Abadaga, when he first came in, he was just dominating everyone. Now he's just kind of holding the fort. Like, he's playing good. He's making good plays. He's doing what he needs to do. I wouldn't say he's like dominating. And then some days even starting to show signs of life. So it just seems like all the pieces have come together. And to me, what it feels like is that they've found their role and they're playing their role really well. And when you put that together, it just obviously makes a good team. So, I mean, that's what I happen to see. What do you guys think? Are there any things that you're noticing is kind of like their recipe for success and, what they can take with them into Worlds?
I mean, I'd like to take this one if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Mitchell.
Yeah, go.
I think just the trio synergy between mid jungle support is unmatched. I mean, especially because like the reason I feel like Abadage isn't like bodying people as hard as he was early on the split is because they eventually kind of figured out that like right now the mid laner to the jungler is like when you like feed a stray dog in the street and then the dog follows you around, that's mid lane. Mid lane's that dog. It's just the one that follows you around, doesn't really do much.
Strangely, that makes sense.
I mean, that's what it is, right? That's why that's why you're not seeing a lot of these carries in the mid lane for the most part. It's just because they're looking for early fights that can get prio and get the jungler ahead, because the jungler's the main carry in the game for the most part.
Yep.
He has been playing really well, even though he's been getting a bunch of flame, which I think is unwarranted personally. Someday's playing a lot better. I mean, I don't know if it's playoff buff or something, but I mean, we haven't seen Someday play amazingly for this year, and he really showed up. And FBI is not dying when he roams, and his farm has been really good. He team fights well. Like, everyone's doing their job, and it's meshing really well.
Yeah.
Like that.
I totally agree with just the meshing thing, is that they're all seem to be on the same page. I think if we go specifically to just the 100 Thieves versus Cloud9 before we like get to 100 Thieves Team Liquid, is that it is just so clear what their game plan is like, it's just get the jungler super fed and like throw everything to annoy the crap out of the other enemy jungler. Like Blabber really did not have a fun time, especially if he didn't have prio lanes. Like I like to think about like that that last game when they 100 Thieves last picked Camille, and it was like, yeah, okay, GP was kind of dumpstering Camille in lane, right? And then they just send 5 people top. Camille is the only one to die on their team, and they just completely take over the game from that point. And it's like they just do stuff like that. It's like they will just, they know someone's gonna die and sacrifice it. They'll make it so that everybody else can reap the rewards, and they just commit 5 people. Like that's something that I noticed them do in the Team Liquid and the C9 series, is actually send all 5. A lot of people send 4 people to a dive. A lot of people send 3 people to a top lane dive to kill 1 person. They send 5 people down to bot lane. If you match TPs and you're not coordinated enough, you will just walk in one by one and get destroyed. So 100 Thieves is that 5-team committal. Some team internationally is gonna punish it, right? Some team internationally, they're not gonna TP. Like, so right now, Team Liquid, right? They TP in to try to defend the 5-man dive.
Yeah.
Some other team internationally is not going to TP in. They're going to eat a bunch of plates on the other side of the map, and they're actually going to come out ahead in gold, right? So that's what 100 Thieves has to look out for. But at this point, like, it's working out for them so far. So the 5-man dives.
That's cool.
I mean, one of the issues is like I think 100 Thieves like generally is firing on all cylinders, except I think Someday's still a major flaw in that team. Game 1 against Alphari's, I think Jace it was. He was 3-0 on Renekton like fairly early. He ended the game with 8,800 damage on their win. Alphari had 25k or something crazy like that. Like, I'm sorry, like even in the C9 series you watched, Someday was essentially like sacrificed for the sake of the team oftentimes, and like we playing weak side is a part of the top lane like toolkit, but I don't think he was playing weak side that well. Like he was not using like he was behind, but even when behind, like he just doesn't do much. Like you put an impact, you put Fudge in there, even Alphari, like I just think there are better players. So that's what I'm concerned about at the world's level. On the other hand, though, the jungle mid support, which we didn't mention top lane in that equation, because jungle mid support I also agree is extremely important, that trio, and they are playing at a higher level than the other one, than the other roles. So as long as the patch doesn't like nerf closers champions, and we've seen what that does to closer, I think that they're going to be a very good representative. Like we'll have the Viego, we'll have what was the other one? Lee Sin. We'll have like good things that like that Lee Sin just won some of those fights, or that Viego just won some games solo. You know,
Viego's getting nerfed pretty hard.
I'm glad. I am glad though, because that is.
Viego's getting nerfed pretty hard.
I mean,
but like, why do it
before?
before?
They're buffing the crit build.
Yeah. But
which is fine. You want him to be squishy, right? You don't want him to be able to stack.
But he's not going to be broken, right? Because the thing is he's broken because he does a bunch of damage and he can tank an entire team fight worth of
I mean, but he's
skills.
going back to his release build, which he was still broken on.
Yes,
but
his release
you
I
can
build
get one
there,
shot.
like
there was more
with half the
counterplay, but he
stats.
was
Yeah,
still
I think that's the
there.
word, Alistair. There's more counterplay because
Yeah,
right now
there's more
I can't
counterplay.
tell you how many fights I saw where they're really wanting to kill that Viego because they don't want him to get
Liquid
resets,
actually
and
was
then he
gonna
gets
win the
away.
game 2 fight.
Yeah.
Like, there
Yeah,
was
the
like a
game 2 fight where he lived with 1 HP
1
and
HP,
reset
yeah.
3 times. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
that
was
was some
full health.
BS.
Shield both Sterak's in the same fight. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. You can't build
That
it together.
was should be.
I'm
I mean,
sorry. Like Team Liquid played that fight immensely better than 100 Thieves did. They just got outplayed by one character.
Yeah. Well,
Well, they should have played Viego instead. They could have
exactly.
turned Viego if they
That
want.
that Team Liquid series is more of like just them being idiots. But
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about, so going
You're
back
right.
to the 100 Thieves Cloud9 series. Let's talk a little bit about Cloud9 because there are third worlds representative. Let's talk about them a little bit. Obviously they didn't win. Let's talk about Perks because
It's a
this
bit of
guy,
a mid gap.
it's a bit of a mid gap, but at the same time, we also talked about how mid right now is kind of like that stray dog just falling around, not as impactful as something like a jungle or support. Does that have anything to do with why we are so kind of let down as far as our expectations go for Perks? Because we want to see Perks carry, we want to see Perks do all these amazing things and win the game, but the game is just not letting him be in that kind of environment. So give me your thoughts on that, and then whatever else you want to say about C9, how they can improve, etc. Blah blah blah. Go ahead.
I don't know. Perks to me he just makes like weird decisions. I think that's
Yeah,
it. Like, yeah, you're the
it's true.
dog and you follow around and you kind of try to feed your jungler, right? If there's one champion or one like role in the game that you want to get fed, it is the jungler. Lee Sin, Viego, Xin Zhao, Diana, these champions, if they have a ton of gold, they will 1v5 an entire fight for you. Perks, I don't know, he just seems to be in weird places or
Yeah.
not in the right place at the right
Yeah.
time. He's, I don't know, kind of like mediocre mechanically. I mean, that's all I really have to say. I don't know, just play better, I guess. I don't know. But to be fair, yeah, his role is very mirrored of the fact of how good his jungler is. And Blabber's just not that good. Like, he was playing years with Yankos, and Yankos is insanely good.
Yeah.
You can meme on Yankos all you want if you're an EU fan, but if you're NA, Yankos would probably be the best jungler, or up there with Closer right now, right? He would come in crap on all over the NA junglers. So it's a lot different coming from Yankos to Blabber. So
Yep.
and also from like sure Mickey, he's been inting all year, but going from Mickey to Vulcan is also a pretty big deal too. Going from grabs to whatever coach C9 has, Reignover I think is it's a big deal. So
I
mean,
agree, but it's been a year, man.
it's been a year, and Perks should really step it up. Because as much as the decision making can be blamed maybe on his team, the mechanics cannot be excused. Sometimes you're just whiffing LeBlanc chains, flash stunning wards, having really weird pathing decisions where it's like, dude, you just got caught and like lost your team a bunch of stuff. Like him TF ulting into behind 100 Thieves team.
He did it. He almost did it twice. Like, I think one of them he was kind of saved and then they played it out fine. But yeah, you're right. He almost did it a few times.
It's just like decision making. A, B, mechanics. You gotta zone use the shockwave, not after. Like C, just like, dude, what are you doing?
I
like,
know.
so there's all these things that kind of just like, some things can be excused for Perks, other things cannot. And maybe if we're in a meta where Akali, Aurelia, and Sylas are being played every game, it would look different because he would be basically the bruiser jungler OP champion, but he's not. He's on TF, he's on Ryze, and Orianna, Syndra. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a really interesting stat. I was listening to some of the in between game stats, or maybe it's before game. And the one stat they threw out that I thought was interesting is in Perks' career, I believe the stat was he has only gotten Player of the Series 5 times ever before in EU. And then in NA, he's gotten 3 to 4. Maybe he got his 5th after one of the playoff series. So he's never actually been an individual, like, superstar. Like, he's a guy, in my mind, after seeing that stat and thinking about it, like, he has a couple pop-off plays like RNG versus G2 2018. That comes to mind, right? Like, or
Yeah,
2017?
big pop-off.
2018. He
2018.
popped off like 15 kill LeBlanc, right? Like super iconic. But then then you like actually try to think about like how often does he actually just like dominate individually? It didn't ever. And then I thought about like he was never like that like super mid laner. that's what Caps was, and like Perks was just in the bot lane playing AD carry, and he wasn't a super AD carry either. He was just good.
Xayah and Kai'Sa were really insane.
Really good. I think they were world class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that with that in mind, maybe it's a little revisionism, but like maybe he's just always just been like hyped up because he's on a great roster, he's a great leader and all that stuff. But like you have to remember, G2 was a good team because they were a player organization. Like the players did the really good players made the calls for the most part. Grabs was not terrible. I'm not saying he's not doing anything, but the players had definitely the keys to the castle there. Meanwhile, here in NA, I'm pretty sure they're getting coached by C9. I'm pretty sure there's like a lot more players who are used to a structure, and I think that's why he's struggling. Like he's trying to be creative. Like, hey, I'm going for the Suicide Messiah play in the backline. Follow me up. And then there's like, like I'm not saying that he's right because that's dumb as heck, right? It's still a terrible all. The point is like you saw stuff like that all the time in G2, but like everyone would just do like some magical stuff and it would come together. I don't think that the players he's playing with are of the caliber to do that, or at least they haven't been trained to do that.
They're not G2.
They're not raw enough, right? Like G2 is just like there's players who don't play a lot of solo queue. There's like a god tier, like basically almost psychopaths on this team, and they're playing together, so it worked out. I still think I think he probably brings the intangibles that they needed to be like an exciting team. Like I actually thought C9 put up a much better fight than Liquid. I don't think that's very controversial of a take, right?
No,
and after seeing 100 Thieves like dumpster Liquid in the finals, like I mean maybe C9 is better than Liquid right now, at least in terms of the last series they played, right?
Right.
So I think he's strong enough. I just don't think he's much of a solo laner. I don't think he's much of a he's not a highlight player really. It's like
he'd be a great jungler. I feel like Perks would be a great jungler.
I agree. He's like ambition to me. Like I think his mid lane like dominance phase is over. You should just take that brain power and just play a character with twice the health bar and twice the impact. That's all I'm saying, man. Blamper doesn't need to be on this.
I mean, Whippo did it. Whippo did it. Whippo did it on Fnatic, and they went pretty far.
He's one of the like top 3 junglers,
exactly,
or at least in the playoffs at least. Alone playoffs alone, Whippo's top 3, and he's a much less tenured player than Perks is.
Yep.
Right.
Hey, High was pretty nutty in the jungle too. And if I remember, he just played.
They made worlds from 9th place. He won a game with like Shyvana on Sated Devour. Come on, man. Jungle's not that hard. Like I'm a jungle man. It's not that hard.
Yeah. So I mean,
the hard part's the brain part.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But you're right. I think when you talk about the intangibles, I think. I don't know if we talked about it or whatever, but with G2, it's kind of the same thing because on paper they're so good, but Perks definitely. I think it was Yankos that mentioned it. We're talking about how like Perks just brought the leadership, kind of brought them together. Like even though they played around so much, Perks was kind of the one that was like, all right, it's time to flip that switch. And Yankos was like, without him there, I kind of like it's kind of a little more self, like having to do it to yourself, and reel yourself back in. So I could see how he can bring some of those to C9, but you're right, the level of talent's not there. Alistair, do you have any thoughts on C9 Perks and his struggle?
Yeah, I do. I think part of it, and this is speculation on my part, but I think part of it is Perks wanted to play mid lane again. I don't think and so in order to do that, he ended up coming to NA, which he didn't really want to do, and he's not playing the same lane he left. He wanted to come back to mid lane and play LeBlanc. He wanted to play all these carry champions, and now he's just basically playing another support.
Yeah.
I think that's going to partially play into mental, and at the same time, I also want to compare C9 to G2, and I think that's also why G2 didn't make Worlds is because Caps isn't a supportive player. Caps is a carry player, and I think Perks is the same thing.
Interesting, yeah.
I think that's why G2 didn't do as well. I think if mid was a better role, I think C9 would have done a lot better, and I think G2 would have made it to Worlds.
It's hard because
TSM might have too.
Oh man, on one side,
fix that team.
On one side, let's not talk about TSM. They're not even in Worlds. They're not. But
they're already dead.
But I mean, like the thing is like on one end, you kind of feel like it might be kind of like a cop out where you're like, oh, it's just not mid's role. But on the other end, it's true though. Yeah, the Johns, right?
They're Johns, man.
That's the thing though, because it's kind of hard not to agree with that because it's across the board. Like all the mid laners are like, it's a different game nowadays. And I think it's pretty evident that mid lane is not the prowess role that it was before.
Well, look at history, right? If you look at all of the big players on all these big teams, almost all of them are mid laners. FPX, Doinby, TSM, Bjergsen.
That's true. Actually, FPX. I was just thinking about that. FPX, Doinby's been popping off. So
yeah,
Doinby's the best player in the world. I'm sorry, man.
Like you look at so many of these players, like so many of these big teams. Most of the name that like the household names.
Baker, SKT.
They're mid laners.
Let's not forget that.
It's usually mid laners and then junglers, and then there's one ADC. Yeah, there's two ADC. There's 3 ADCs, right? It's like Ruler, and then like Uzi.
Like Ruler, Uzi,
and then about it. We're not even gonna say Doublelift, right? Yeah, we're not even gonna say Doublelift. So
hey, Double is a star player. Though.
That's
like,
true.
He is.
But the
doesn't make out of groups star player.
It's normally the mid laner. The mid laner is usually the big focus of the team. You know, everyone looks at the mid laner, and
rookie.
I mean, that's what put that's the reason mid laners
Demonte
is because mid lane was just a really good role, and you got to see a lot of pop off plays. You don't get to see that anymore.
Not as much. But
think about this though. What if? Oh, go ahead. My point was stupid. Go ahead. It was really dumb. It was just gonna be stupid. So you go ahead.
Here's my point though: is why if you want to pop off like crazy and be that star mid laner, there is one champion right now that you can do that. That is Doinby plays it every single time. It's called Aurelia.
Yeah.
Aurelia. Perks played it twice against TSM. Kind of looked bad once, kind of looked good the other. If you want to be that star mid lane player and you think you're the best, you can carry it. You should be first picking Aurelia. Any mashup, doesn't matter where you go. I will play Aurelia and I will 1v9 because the champion is broken.
Yep.
He didn't play it. He didn't play it a single time against 100 Thieves, right? He played it against TSM because ego. He probably thought they were a better team. He realized, hey, I'm not good enough to just style on Aurelia against Abadage, so I can't do it, right? Then you're just not good enough player at being a carry champion. I think he used to play Aurelia a ton. He used to be a great Aurelia player. Yeah. Doesn't play it anymore. So
very interesting. Good point.
I mean, you can't always play it, is one. And two, I mean, at the same time, I mean, like I said, it might just, it's very possible it's just not a champion he enjoys. It's the same reason why AD carries don't like playing mages. We play AD carry to play marksman. We don't play AD carry to play Ziggs.
I don't know.
We don't play AD carry to play Cassio.
You should play AD carry to be a professional. I'm just saying, the AD carries aren't babies. They just need to learn it. Everyone else in the game has to learn two different styles, minimum, okay? Tanks and enchanters, assassins and control mages.
They do it, but they don't want to. And
but Perks is the Akali, Aurelia, Aatrox, Sylas, LeBlanc player.
He played a lot of stuff for so long.
He played set mid too. He played all the bruises. He should have just played Aurelia. If his mentality is what we all think it is, where he still thinks he's the best no matter what happens, right? I think a lot of great players have that same mentality. He should just play Aurelia. Yeah, it's not great in all matchups. It's not great in all situations. But when the champion is that broken, you make it work. If you're good enough as a champion, you just stick it in there.
Here's a thought then, because if you're right, I like what you said. If his ego, like if he was like, yo, I'm the best player, I'm the best mid laner, he would be doing that. Now that begs the question, how's his confidence right now? Because he's been losing, he's been getting the flame, he's been, like kind of just been on a downfall, and maybe it's kind of, affecting him. And I know he always tries to play the cool guy, kind of like whatever, but I heard, I was listening to a co-stream with, or Dom was co-streaming an LPL game, and he was talking about Doonby, and he's like, Doonby is 100% giving alpha vibes right now. Like, not even the fake kind, like where, you're pretending to be cool. Like, no, he doesn't give a crap. He's like, I'm the best player, and I'm going to freaking win. And you can see it. You can see it in his play, and I don't see that from Perks, man. And I don't know what is going on.
Cares, honestly.
I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe Perks. I mean, he lost his series to Jensen, so obviously his mental is shattered. It's completely boomed.
Right.
I mean, I do agree with you, Kevin. Though. Like you definitely, I don't disagree. Like you should be playing a role to be a professional. Like you should be playing those champions. I don't disagree, but you're still going to gravitate towards things you want to play.
Yeah.
That is true. They get the final say at the end of the day.
I mean, that's why I play Sona. I mean, Sona is just all
that conversation had nothing to do with you picking the
Hey, side note, come on, guys. If you suck like me, Now is the time to play Sona and just smash buttons. You
just
will
play
win.
Enchanters.
Promise. Play Enchanters. That's what I do, man. I ain't got time.
Actually, though, for reals, guys, Lee Sin is so busted. He just got nerfed too. His W Spellvamp passive just got nerfed. He's still like, I think he's actually in some situations better than Viego. I know it's crazy because Viego's that broken. He's really, really broken. I actually think Lee Sin might even be
I think
more
Team
broken.
Liquid maybe have had that in their mindset because they picked Lee twice into Viego. And where you're like, why the freak are they doing this again when they just got demolished by him? I think that's what it is. I think they were like, Lee Sin's a better champ, and we can win.
I think in not all situations, but in a lot of situations, I actually do think Lee Sin is better than Viego. It's just that when you have the player, Santorin had a pretty bad series, and Closer had the best series of his life. You see a very stark difference in how the champions are executed, and Viego looks so much more busted when the player is that much better. Closer played Lee Sin, right? And I'm sure if Santorin picked Viego, it would look the same thing. Closer would have styled on him on Lee Sin in the reverse matchup. Which, I mean, he did against Trundle. I don't know why they first picked Trundle. What the hell are you doing, Team Liquid?
It's literally a counter pick for the meta counter pick that you first picked.
Yeah, no,
it's also a good flex, but
it is.
Flex, I mean,
they didn't flex it ever.
You could have flexed it, right? Because Huhi is basically a 3-trick. He plays Braum, Leona, and Alistar, and he just started playing Alistar in the finals. I guess set 2, right? Trundle's great in all 4 of those. Trundle is actually a great pick into all those 4, stealing the tankiness, interrupting with the pillar. Kevin mentioned it earlier. Now we're finally talking about this series. I think the draft was such a huge problem for Team Liquid. It was the play also. Santorin had a really bad series. Jensen had a really bad series. Core JJ honestly had a pretty bad series
Core
too.
JJ, I know. I was like, I was hurting, man.
I think everybody has that one Leona play in their mind where he flashed, he missed, and we're like, dude, you could have flash queued, man. You're in his face. You're right there. You could have flash queued his ass.
I don't know what that was.
He had a brain fart.
And then you know what? You could have flash queued him and eat him, and I think Abadage would have made it out because he had W up on LeBlanc. So that was rough. But in terms of the draft, I do think like banning Diana was a mistake. I think if you were gonna ban any champion, it should have been Viego, and you should have taken away the Lee Sin, and you should have let him take Diana. It would have been fine because then you're forcing either them to pick Lucian mid, or they have double APs, and then you can stack MR, right? Because Abadage basically played AP champions all year long. I don't think he played much Lucian, so I really think the draft process that they thought of, banning Diana, was like, it just kind of screwed him over. Yeah, in my opinion.
I think you're right about that. I mean, Viego, he has a 75% win rate, but he's played 8 games on Viego. He's only played 1 game of Diana.
Well, it's been banned a lot. Diana's been banned a lot.
We saw what happened the last few times when Closer got Diana.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's true too. It's like maybe you have to triple ban him, right? But then like, oh my god, I think game 4 or game 3, Team Liquid banned what was it? Olaf instead of Lee Sin, and then they picked Trundle, right? Like they banned Diana, Viego, Olaf, and then they gave him Lee Sin. I'm like, what are you doing?
That's true.
Team Liquid, hello.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
TL's running into the TSM problem. They can't draft.
They can't draft.
That was one thing Jat was good at.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, what do you think then? Talking about TL now, we could talk about the series, but also just Team Liquid in general, because again, we mentioned that this is definitely not the Team Liquid that we know, and I'm pretty sure it was just an off day because they, to me, looked very uncharacteristic of their former selves. So, what are your thoughts on Team Liquid? Do they need to do something besides the draft, like? Anything better? Do you have any thoughts about the players themselves? But yeah, I'll let you talk a little bit, Kevin, especially about Team Liquid.
I think that game 3 they weren't characteristic themselves. I think game 2 they would win that game against most characters, against most like balanced characters. Like even if we're talking about meta, which is generally a meta character is generally kind of broken, or why would you pick in pro, right? But like. Liquid was coming back in the game. They would have won that fight, and they would have just been able to take that and like go to Baron or go to like. There were so many fights where it was just like, okay, that's just BS. This is the only reason they're losing this fight is because like Viego or something, or not only reason. Honestly, 100 Thieves played really well. I don't think Liquid underplayed that much. I think game 1 they made a really boneheaded decision, which luckily that happens now. And if anyone with like brain cells can watch that in VOD review and be like, okay, we have a habit of overreacting to like the 5-man dive, right? Sometimes you just sack 2 people, you get like 8 plates or 6 plates across the board.
Yeah.
Just whatever. 5-man dives don't work that often for a reason. 4-man dives are a thing because you can at least have someone cover, right? But like it's just so boneheaded, and like it's not even like a 5-man dive you can mitigate. It was very obvious that they were going to be in trouble. So I think these are easy to fix things, which is good. It's not like fundamentally Liquid can't play early, fundamentally Liquid can't play from behind. I think a lot of these they can do. It just kind of depends. The issue is because there's so much talent on the team that if they're kind of streaky, right? If they can't pull it out, then they just look kind of silly. But if they can, they look stupidly dominant at the same time. That was Liquid kind of just looked like this during the regular season too, for the last week, and then they just started ramping up, right? I think they have the firepower. I think at Worlds they're probably still one of our best situated teams, because the meta is going to change going into Worlds. Characters like, honestly, and I don't like this, by the way. I wish playoffs and Worlds just reflect each other pretty closely, because you get to Worlds based off your playoffs performance, and then the patch could be just completely different, right? To me, that's just nonsense.
I mean, the next patch is gonna be, it's absolutely bonkers, the size of it.
Yeah, and then that's not even the next patch isn't even 11-18 is not even the Worlds patch, assumedly. Usually there's at least 1 or 2 more before Worlds. That just makes no sense to me. Anyways, I think Liquid will do fine. They have so much world-class talent. I'm really excited to see Alfari against like the other world-class talent, like if he is in Khan's group or like whatever group he is. Oh, I don't want to be in
FPX Naguri.
Dude.
Yeah,
that's
but
what I want to see.
Naguri has been inting. Like he does really well sometimes, and sometimes he just like does really well at inting. It's just so strange to watch.
He's becoming the shy. I feel like.
Yeah. He's like the shy or old Naguri. Like remember the first Worlds with Naguri where he was like 0-5 or whatever in some of those teams. I was like, or someday. Yeah, that's also fair. I think that this Liquid team, in my opinion, is going to go the furthest. Even though 100 Thieves and C9 played both this weekend, I think that Liquid is going to go the furthest. So that's my prediction. There's just because it's a dice roll, right? Whatever meta comes out, which team is best situated to play the most type of styles. I think Santorin is a better overall jungler in more metas than Closer or Blabber are. If the dice rolls to the Closer Blabber meta where you Ooga Booga pick like Olaf, Jin Zhao, and whatever, then yeah, I think those guys are better than Santorin at that. But it's possible.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you made. You know, just the flexibility that they have. I mean, we've seen Core JJ pick a different support champ in every game of a series just because he can do that.
This guy used to be known to be busted on like Nami and like Zyra. And stuff. Like he made MF support work, but then now you just see him like on Rel and stuff. He plays everything. I think there is definitely like Huki and Vulcan are better at certain characters. Like Huki looked really good on Alistar, but like Core JJ just does it all. So like if you're gonna put your money on someone, you put it on the team that's meta proof. Of course, if the meta just rolls your way, it can be like IG 2018 where they just win despite being like not necessarily the best team.
Yeah, RNG.
They were second that year.
Basically crapped on them all year long, and then meta became
and then
so
lane
became
useless
galore.
At Worlds.
Yeah.
What a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like all of our teams going to Worlds, I mean, have one like at least one extremely glaring weakness. Like I think for 100 Thieves, I actually have high hopes for them. I think especially with Rebird, I think they have a chance to go pretty far. My only worried is someday might just end up like Dyrus. Where he just ends up getting perma dove.
I don't think it would be that bad, but I hope so.
I don't know. It's a possible. It's definitely possible.
He's been practicing Ornn and GP, so he's ready for it.
Yeah, I know.
He's ready for the treatment.
Yeah, but they'll dive. They'll dive GP.
Yeah.
Ornn.
I bet Dyrus wished Ornn was a character back when he was playing.
Instead of playing Rumble every game.
Yeah.
I mean, TL drafting, they need to get that cleaned up, or they're just gonna get absolutely smacked around. And C9, I don't know. They just don't look super together.
No, I think you're right.
They look like 5 players. They don't look like a team.
Actually, one point that Peter Dunn, I believe, brought up, or maybe it was Gigliotto, but I was watching one of the talk shows that I watch a lot of League talk shows as a talk show host myself, or not host, contributor myself. One thing they mentioned was like if you were like drafting for a pro team, you would rather have someone with like glaring weakness but also a glaring strength than a golden glue, where he's good enough at a lot of things, but you want someone who could be like super polished at something, and then like you can fix the other things and make them usable. And I think that's something that's exciting about our teams this year. Is like last year we sent FlyQuest, and I was like, I hope they get a win or two in the top esports Fnatic group. And
Why are we hating on FlyQuest all of a sudden? They went 3-3, man.
No, I'm not done yet. And then we sent TSM, and we're like, and we're like,
gosh, here we go.
I mean, what are they good at? They're good at ratting their way to the win. I mean, like, I don't know how they're gonna do. I mean, maybe they'll do. And then they went 0-6, right? Like, you don't want a team that's a generalist team when you're fighting the world's best. You want a team that has like 1 or 2 like really stupidly strong strengths, and you're just like, let's hope our super strong strengths can like put them off balance. You know, we don't want to lose to Machi Esports again, like Liquid did last year. That's depressing, right? Yeah. Liquid should have been able to beat Machi. They could beat like Suning, but they couldn't beat Machi twice. Like that's not good. So we need teams that just like, I'm rather a team like go down fighting and go like 2-4 or whatever. Yeah. But also have a chance to go 4-2 than like a team that like barely beats a wildcard team on their way up.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. Did you have any other thoughts on Team Liquid there, Mitchell?
Yeah, I have a ton. Okay, I don't know. I can talk about Team Liquid forever.
Yeah, no, talk about them. Dude, talk about them in a bad way, because I like that.
Why are you picking Ezreal game 1? That was like the worst pick ever, dude. That was so bad. Oh my god, I would have
won a playoff game, dude. Like
I don't know. I don't think Ash has either. To be honest,
regions.
But Ash has a reason though. I actually have a theory for Ash, but keep going.
He should have played Jhin. Just play Jhin. He should have played Jhin. Jhin Leona. That's so much better than whatever the hell Ezreal was. They had no pressure in bot lane at all. He just got free roam, and it's against a freaking Varus. Have you ever played Varus Ezreal lane? Varus just gets to do whatever he wants. There's no counterplay for Ezreal at all. Zero.
Should have played genuinely Jhin. Unplayable.
Yeah, it's unplayable. I don't know why he picked Ezreal into it. Or then you go to let's look at this game 2 draft, was it? No, game 3 draft. Yeah, the Gnar. I just he was hovering over Aurelia. I was like, yes, please pick it. Punish the GP. Punish the GP. Dive him on repeat. You have a Trundle to tank it. And then they picked Gnar, and he went to play for even in lane. I don't know what their game plan was with that. And I don't know. It kind of pissed me off that they did that. Yeah, also the first pick Trundle was really bad. I really feel like Team Liquid, I don't know what they've been doing, but they played some Viego in the regular season. I guess they didn't want to keep doing that, but I really think you should have just been playing Viego. If you really wanted to ban Diana, because he is very good at it, just play Viego. You're on blue side, you have first pick. 100 Thieves does not exactly play the team comps or the style that require to beat a Viego comp-wise, right? Yep. You can beat Viego. Viego has counterplay. You pick a ton of ranged champions, and you play 5v5 disengage. Viego can never walk in, right? He has to always come in and hope that his team can clean up for the rest of you. But if you play a bunch of melees into Viego, like Team Liquid kept opting him to do, or all these other teams keep opting him to do, you're giving Viego free time to hit Sunderer, to sustain, to lifesteal, to get Sterix up, to reset. It's just these teams don't seem to be very smart when it comes to like these very simple, obvious things that we can pick up on, co-hosts can pick up on, Doublift, LS, they're all Dom, they're all talking about it in their co-host streams. It's the same things, right? Everybody has these clear weaknesses that they're not making use of, and nobody's playing Aurelia. It's pissing me off, dude.
Yeah, it is pretty tough because you see that, and you see in other regions too, like how they make these things work, and you just, again, because we're about to collide with all the regions, it's like, oh gosh, the other regions are already good at this stuff, and I haven't even seen us, begin to do any of it. So
I'm really excited for 100 Thieves and stuff, but they did not get punished in very easy ways, very like obvious ways, where it's like, okay, you're gonna first pick Viego, we're gonna punish the crap out of you. Oh, it's a jungle centric meta, and we make a comp where it's impossible for the Viego to play the game. That's a huge draft advantage from the very beginning, but no team opted in to do that. They just play other melees into Viego. So yeah, I'm disappointed, but I don't know. I think we'll do okay at Worlds. I actually don't have a ton
I think you're right. I mean, honestly, I think the sentiment, okay, yes, TSM, I'm sad they're not there, but I do think that we have 3 solid representatives. I'm excited to see them, and I'm rooting for them like every year. Let's go NA, right? So
wait,
Yeah, go ahead,
Dad,
Kev.
what is the dad meme again? It's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, man. That's how I feel
Honestly,
about TSM.
I think,
you know,
I think this is the best combination of three teams we could have gotten.
it is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
To be completely
I think it's
honest.
pretty good.
And I loved, again, the fact that 100 Thieves did pop off. So while, yes, they have weaknesses, yes, other teams kind of did questionable things, but hey, man, they went 6-1 this final weekend. Like, that's a good
really
sign.
good.
And we
That's
know
really good.
Team Liquid
Prove
is
all the
still going to be
haters wrong.
good. Yeah, we know Team Liquid is going to be good. C9 has potential, but, you know, again, we still have to see that. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about? Any of the three teams that are going before we move on? Final thoughts on those things?
The last word I had was that it's probably the first time in a while where obviously the fans of the teams that didn't make it will say something different maybe, but like it's the first time in a while where we're just not like, oof, maybe this team didn't deserve to go, or this team isn't our strongest top three. I know that in the past, like top three was just like, oh, it's a de facto three, but like one of them's kind of like there, right? They're not. They just made it because we need to fill a third slot. They're not that strong. They won because of spring points or something. I don't know, whatever. I think that I really like the format. Someone pointed out that Lock-in champion, spring champion, summer champion are making it. That means that our format like worked.
That's cool.
Yeah,
like
true.
More or less, like every tournament, like somebody like was able to keep form long enough to win. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was Huki is the first LCS champion from 2 roles.
That's true.
That's pretty cool.
Support.
Credit to him.
Gotti is so much better at support than mid.
So much.
Yes,
better.
very
he
much
was
better.
He was okay back in the context when he won. He was pretty okay in mid lane, like above average. Because we had some pretty bad mid laners back then.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all I had to say. Congrats to them. I'm glad that NA at least looks good in the context of NA. If we get smashed again,
no one will be surprised.
I'll see it same time next year. We should just run an episode like as a rerun and see if anyone notices. Like, edit out certain team names and that's all we do.
TSM.
Bleep it out,
we bleep out TSM.
TSM.
Bleep went 06 again, guys. Oh, no.
Just
First
change out the
team.
teams. Just side note, Jensen was 0-11 in that last series against 100 Thieves, and so I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was pretty bad. Okay, let's wrap this episode up on a happy note, right? Predictions. You know, it's done for this year, and we do have the winners. If you guys have been following, we have been doing like predictions for every series, every game, all the way up to now. And the winner of that, there was going to be a top 3 prize pool of $200 in RP. And we do have our top 3 winners. And I'll let Alistair do the honor since he was the one that was tracking. But Alistair, can you please let everyone know who are 3 winners of this
Go from third, second to first.
Yeah, third, second to first. Hype it up. Let's go.
All right. So our third place will be Kimmer.
Woo! Kimmer! All right. Hey, just like C9.
Right.
He's a C9 fan. Yeah. Just like his team. Ouch. Okay.
I was going to make that joke. Okay. But our second place, we got Crisp 10.
All right, Crisp!
TSM fan. Yeah, make it in when his team couldn't.
Well, I like him then. He's cool. He's cool.
In first, we have Ink Person.
Woo!
Ink Person. Let's go.
Person. All right. So,
all right.
Here's how you have to claim your prize though, because you have to have been listening to this episode. Like, we're not going to reach out. So if you won, you have to reach out to me and claim your prize. So first prize gets $125. So Ink Person, $125 in RP. Crisp, you get $50 in RP. And then Kimmer, you get $25 in RP. So contact me in Discord or in game, and I'll get that to you. But it was fun. I hope, just trying to add some spice in predicting, see who really knows what's going on. I mean, nobody really knows what's happening.
So who won between all of us then, huh, League Dad? Did you do your homework?
Obviously, it was me.
No, I still have to work out the tally. But the thing is that like it's been hard because there have been weeks where we've missed some stuff, but I'll go through it and see if there is one. We'll just assume it's me for now. So No.
I just want to say that I am the reigning multi-time champion. I'm pretty sure, besides literally last split, I've won it all.
You know, who really won?
I don't think it's the coin.
I don't even care about tracking because I won one now, so I can die happy.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really matter. You know, I won my shit. I'm just kidding. I'll take a look and see if we could. We'll see if we could find the winner in there as I go through it. But any last thoughts, Worlds? Anything before we wrap up this episode? Good. You guys, we milked it.
I'm excited for drawings. Yeah, we'll talk about a schedule probably right after I say this. Yeah. I do not think we're gonna go 018 like I said a couple of podcasts ago. So there we go.
We're doing it.
That's a lot of hopium over there.
Yeah, not 018.
100 Thieves is gonna win Worlds.
Yeah.
100 Thieves is gonna probably get a game or two. And C9 is actually going through play-ins. This is actually the C9 hotspot. Almost always when they go through play-ins, they actually make it out of groups. There is a track record there.
We made semis, right? The first time NA made semis was when they were a play-in team for C9.
Yep. They were a play-in team. They warmed up. They got good at the meta. Yep. To be fair, a part of that was Licorice hitting a Baron at 20 HP with Ornn. So think about that.
Yeah.
The chosen ones.
Yeah. Besides that, though, we should talk about the future of the podcast. LCS is over. We do have to wait for all the Worlds teams to qualify. So we will not be having an episode next week. Probably won't be having the one after that. We will let you all know.
Follow the Twitter. We'll announce the schedule.
Yeah, we'll announce the schedule. And we'll post it in Discord too. But we're most definitely probably going to have a show when the drawings happen. Definitely probably a pre-show or something on the rankings of what we think
the week
will happen.
before World starts, stuff like that. So, but it's probably not going to be for another 2 or 3 weeks. So to all our viewers out there, we will miss you. We will love you.
And we thank you for the continued support of listening to us try to make predictions, I guess, in what we call the NA LCS. Is that what it's called? Or is it called Clown Fiesta? Is it called the Clown Fiesta though? Or
I thought it was the Headless Chicken Coop.
Oh, Headless Chicken Coop. Okay,
hey, if you guys watch Korea, there was some real Clown Fiestas in their finals.
Oh yeah. That's some good stuff.
I'm starting to think that we're all being brought down to the same level due to how Riot balances the game.
I love that. All right,
Booga junglers, Sterix, Sunder, Gorjunk every game. And then, as a final word, because I just want to get it one last time, TSM will not be making to Worlds.
I hate you.
Year. They cannot go 0-12. Unfortunately, I think all NA fans are crying.
I'm just gonna end this show by saying I hate all of my co-hosts. I hate them.
On the bright side, they will not have any losses at Worlds.
They'll be undefeated.
100% win rate.
100%
or 0%.
Hey, you know what? We just wanted a longer vacation so that we can come back ready for next year. So.
TSM is the G2 of NA. I see.
Yeah, G2's on vacation too. You guys can hang out together.
You can get players poached both ways.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it. Thanks again to Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair for sharing their wise insight. As always, for all our listeners and viewers, thank you for your support, and we really appreciate it. But until next time, guys, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Peace.